Welcome back to Design Connect 21. Our next speaker is Jason Wells, Brand and Marketing Manager for PG Bison, and his topic will be Pimp Your Kitchen, a change in attitude towards your choices of materials, colors, textures in your kitchen, and it will be in association with the KSA. Over to you, Jason.
Super. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining me here today. And thank you to the Decorex for giving us this platform where we can meet and chat. Of course, what I'd like to do is also, and I'm going to just throw up my presentation right now so we can quickly chat through some of that. So I'm going to quickly share my screen here, share the entire screen, and that'll make it easier. Let's start that there. All right. So like I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time to join us today, to come and listen to us, listen to what we have to say. And thank you to Decorex for providing us with this platform. Of course, I'd like to say thank you to the KSA for inviting me to come and talk on their behalf, as well as on behalf of PG Bison. PG Bison's had a long-standing history with the KSA. We've been members for over 20 years now, supporting them in any which way we can. And we're really proud of what they do for the industry. And for those of you who are not so sure about what the KSA does, a quick intro. The KSA is an industry body, and it seeks to improve the kitchen manufacturers and associated suppliers like PG Bison by promoting professional, reputable, and accountable behavior. Of course, this is for the benefit of the consumer, giving them peace of mind. If you want more details about the KSA, you can visit them at www.ksa.co.za. And we have Stephanie Forbes, the national manager of the KSA, waiting in the virtual wings of our stage, who will be here. And if anyone has a question for the KSA, she can jump online and assist you with that. Just one thing to remember about the KSA is, of course, that they can only offer assistance if you've chosen to work with a KSA registered member. That's the one proviso with the KSA. So today, the topic is Pimp My Kitchen. As you know, my name is Jason Wells. So basically what I do, together with my team, we look after the brand and marketing and some demand creation activities at PG Bison. But one of my roles specifically is to manage the range of colors and designs and surface finishes that we offer to the market and keep those on trend, making sure that we're in step with what's happening in the rest of the world. We're finding out all those new trends out there and bringing them back here, localizing them and making them accessible to the South African market. So to do that, what I want to quickly chat about, of course, is trends. Not so much trends as in the fashions and the designs that we're looking at, but first talk about the sort of social behaviors, human behaviors, because these drive design solutions, and those design solutions are where the colors and textures will come to bear. So we have to understand what are people up to these days, what's everybody feeling, because that, of course, will influence what are the colors and textures that they're looking for. So I'm going to quickly go over some high-level trends. It's not a deep dive. This is really just a sense of what we're already seeing as coming out. Of course, after 540 days and some of lockdown, what are people feeling and what have people been doing? The first trend, of course, space and time, the redefining of space and time. We all know work zones are no longer bounded by space or time. You know, we answering emails at 10 o'clock at night. Everybody shifted into that work from home. There's been a little bit of a move back, people starting to get into a hybrid model. So we've got some people working some days on, some days off, some people still at home fully, all of this sort of stuff happening. So of course, this is changing the way we use our spaces, our kitchens, our homes, of course, all of that. Now they have to be these hybrid workspaces. Social distancing, what does that mean for us in the future? Is it going to be there long term? And we were in a space where we were creating all these open plan areas. And now, of course, there's building up of transparent walls and sort of repartitioning things. So that's the one thing, the space and time. And of course, that sends into the second trend, the converging of zones. I think we all have that feeling where suddenly your kitchen table became your office desk. Not a lot of people can afford a room that is a whole study, a private space for them. So there's a lot of sharing of spaces happening, be it the dining room table or the kitchen. Children still need to have lunch and do homework, and you need to have a meeting. So all of those sort of things happening in these zones. So we see a trend towards these multi-use spaces, and of course adaptability. How can you easily transform from one requirement to another? And I think we're going to see a lot more hybridization of these spaces as we move forward. Of course, the other thing that's to think about is repurposing of other spaces. Lots of open office spaces. What's going to happen there? How are people going to use that? And of course, what are we going to do with our own kitchens, or or other living spaces? How do we divide those up and make them more adaptable to our requirements? Digitality, a life online. 2-3 years ago, you're probably moaning at your kids for having too much screen time, and now suddenly I think we all feel like we're having too much screen time. You drift in and out of Zoom and team meetings. We spend our lives online meeting and all that. So what's that doing to us? How's that influencing our social interactions? And how do we make that more part of everyday life? That leads into well-being. There's been a big drive in terms of people feeling a little bit of cabin fever, cooped up, wanting to get more balance in their lives. You feel like you're spending so much time behind a screen. So people looking for ways to bring balance back into their lives, mindfulness. That also lends itself towards more natural materials, natural colors, organic, just trying to create that sense of calm and serenity. Nesting. Nesting's one of the biggest trends that we've seen in the last 540 days. Actually, a little bit shorter than that. We went into lockdown as PG Bison and many other companies did, not knowing where is everything going to go to. But as soon as the market started to open up in about June and July of last year, there was a massive surge in demand for product. Suddenly, I think everybody being cooped up, seeing their kitchens, knowing that this is the space that they have to be in for a long time, there's been a massive trend towards redoing, as a renewing, renovating, replacing, a lot of stuff being spent on homes, be it because you had more expendable income, not traveling, not spending it on other things. But we have definitely, over the last few months, seen a massive surge in terms of people fixing up their homes and that whole sense of nesting. And of course, thinking local. This is an international trend. Everybody, as the borders closed up and imports slowed down, people started to explore what was available locally. And I think that's also what's led to a lot of the demand in PG Bison. Just people looking for local options, and there's a lot more drive towards being a conscientious consumer. So another trend that we're seeing. So those are the main trends. They are evolving as we go along, but what we are seeing as influencing and the sort of behaviors and what will come in terms of requirements for materials and colors in the future. In terms of materials themselves, the trends that we've been seeing: fashion, color, texture. This is not your great-grandmother's panelite green dinette kitchen table. It's definitely a huge move. The speed at which colors are being introduced, new textures are being introduced, is really just on the up and up. Years back, colors would sit in the range for years. We'd launch them and they'd just sit there. And these days, we're looking at a 2-year cycle of actually launching new colors and new textures. So really, that whole speed and material, sort of the acceptance of that has gained momentum dramatically. And I think people are expecting it. They're looking for new stuff. Durability, low maintenance. Again, being at home, sort of having to use your kitchen space, your living room space, or a dining room as an office too. People are looking for durability. They want low maintenance. They want to know that the products that they put in will last. That's one of the things. Healthy surfaces, hygienic, easy to clean, easy to wipe down. Also with the sort of pandemic in mind, a lot of people asking what can they do in terms of healthy surfaces, and what we've done in terms of additives to the products to just improve their hygiene factor. Local, sustainable, responsible. A trend internationally, as I said, people looking for local options. The sustainable and responsible is gaining momentum in South Africa. It's not at the same sort of level where it is in Europe, but certainly people are becoming more au fait with the topic and asking questions about where the material is sourced from, or what are we doing in terms of plantations and trees and renewability. So definitely a trend has been growing there. And affordability. It goes without saying, people are looking for affordable options. A lot of people under financial stress, and so you want to upgrade, you want to improve your house and do all those things to your kitchens and sort of work on that, but it has to be at an acceptable and affordable level. And accessibility. For PG, this has been something we've been focusing hard on. There is we all know, a growing middle income and with a massively aspirational flair. They are looking. People are looking for that fashion, that the sort of latest and greatest, but it needs to be accessible. So we need to look at materials that can get you that look, but at an affordable rate. So those are the trends really in materials. Again, broad brushstrokes, not too much fine detail there. So what's pimping? The first thing that I'd have to say in terms of what we've seen growing in demand is matte. Matte is definitely a huge trend for us. It's picking up. We're seeing more and more requirement for this. It has been around for the last 2 or 3 years, an international trend, and we're seeing that too here. The great thing about matte, it gives you a very sophisticated and elegant look. I'm going to skip onto the slides now and show you some images, because it diffuses light, it sort of subdues colors. And this image here, sort of beautiful example, you have an anthracite color, which can be quite sort of an intense color, but with the matte surface, you actually get an easier application. It makes it a lot more accessible. Almost zero reflection on the stuff, ultra matte. So this is the trend that we're definitely seeing. A lot of people looking for a sort of this non-reflective matte. Another example, just again talking about the intensity of color. That is actually most of those cupboard doors and frontals are a black, but you can see how the matte finish has subdued that and made it much more or less intense, let's say. If that was entirely done in a gloss black, it would have been quite a strong presence, but now we have a much more subdued version of the kitchen. And again, just a little bit more of that, where they've mixed up the two. They've used a grey and a black to create this look. Another trend in pimping kitchens is, of course, 2-toning and 3-toning and even 4-toning. For a while, the 2-toning was really just used as an accent, maybe a row of drawer frontals, sort of a little feature somewhere in the kitchen. But we've seen a splurge in terms of 2-toning. A lot of color combined with wood grains are coming through. Of course, it gives you the best of both worlds. If you're not sure what choice to make, be it a wood grain or be it a color, you combine the two and you get the best of that. It makes it more visually interesting as opposed to approaching a kitchen that's just all done in one color. You can use it to create accents and features. And of course, just like the matte does, it helps to manage intensity. You can pick a really intense color, but then just bring a little bit of subtlety to the application by combining it with something else. And of course, then adding on top of that, the surface finishes, be it a gloss or a matte or a texture, it just takes the whole application to another level. So really a sort of trend we're seeing a lot more in terms of the use of colors, combining with different sort of designs and prints in the kitchen applications. Some examples you've got here, the sort of, again, a very intense anthracite color being used with a wood grain in a more sort of balanced, a one-to-one kind of a ratio. Here, a little bit of mixing and matching. You've got the alternating sort of pattern going on. And here, where it's been split, the lower level is done in the grey and the upper level is done in a wood grain. So it gets used in a variety of ways, but that really is one of the things we're seeing a lot more of. It's it's definitely taken a whole step up in terms of two-toning applications. What I love about two-toning, this is one of my personal favorites, is the way you can play around with color, and this is what makes it exciting for me, is you're not limited to certain options. It's just really about having an eye for it and just seeing what works. So for instance, here we have a petrol blue and a Calais side by side, a whitewash and this sort of petrol blue color. And if you look at it, you'll notice that in the wood grain, your eye picks up on that darker gray patch in the middle and links that to the blue on the right-hand side. Now, if I swap that around and put it into a more beige color, your eye becomes aware of the tan colors inside of the wood grain. And that is a Calais and a Biskra. But again, I love that. It gives you that versatility. You can mix and match colors, really sort of play around and bring out elements within the design. So you can sort of really highlight certain colors that normally your eye wouldn't pick up, but just by combining it with the right unicolor or solid color, your eye is able to then focus in on some more features within that print. And as I said, this makes it much more visually interesting. It gives you an ability to balance the application and really play around a lot more than you would if you just go with one color or one print. Another pimping thing that we're seeing all over in kitchens and sort of wardrobes, all sorts of applications around the house, color carcassing. Color carcassing, there is a lot of white out there. A lot of people still want to use white, and that's it. But definitely a lot more demand in colored and printed carcassing coming through. Of course, it's a step up from just a white carcass, and it gives you a much more integrated, put together look. You know, it feels like if your frontals are just the one garment, your shirt or pants, having colored carcassing is almost putting together the whole outfit. It really feels a lot more complete in its look. It just gives you a much more refined sort of upmarket appearance. So whether it be a solid color like this anthracite gray, inside for a wood grain as an internal, and here even in wardrobe units, mixing and matching. Again, the two-toning is not just sort of for the outside of the cupboards, but also in the inside, mixing the verticals and horizontals with solid colors and with printed designs. So that is colored carcassing. The other thing on our list of pimping is, of course, authentic textures. This has been around for a little bit, but it's so important right now. And I'll talk about the alternate designs and how those work with the textures and more color. Definitely, just in the last few months, we've seen it, a bigger trend towards using a lot more color. Whereas wood grains were always more popular, we are seeing the solid colors being used with those wood grains a lot more. So I'm talking about authentic textures. Printing, has improved a lot in terms of the products we use, much more realistic. So those textures really need to enhance the designs that we've got out there. So gloss, although I said matte is definitely sort of the latest in trends that we're seeing, the gloss out there is still ever popular. A lot of people wanting gloss. It gives you a sense of opulence, of richness to a room, and also really practical in terms of small spaces. Gloss acts like a mirror, so it bounces light around and it creates a little bit more volume in that space. So that's where it's really good. If you've got a tiny little kitchen, gloss really works to just give you a bit more sense of space in there. Textures, a lot more rougher. People want to feel that texture and sort of, it also lends itself to that natural feeling. If we're talking about nature and organic, just to make sure that the texture sort of mimics that look quite closely. Features, again, a lot of people using sort of feature walls, feature spaces, so you can do let's say a more cautious approach to the kitchen, and then take a space and actually create a large feature that is then easier to change than doing the whole kitchen in something bespoke. So definitely a lot more sort of focus on using alternate designs, patterns, be it stones, be it concretes, oxidized metals, more and more of that coming into the sort of the fray. Like I said at the beginning, more color. We are seeing color being combined a lot more in different applications. Here is a sort of duck shell green combined with the wood grain, but definitely a lot more color coming in as opposed to just using whites that we're really seeing a lot of. Less of a pimp, more of a must-have. Hygienic surfaces. It's definitely been a topic lately. People living working from home, sort of being in those spaces, a lot of activity in those spaces. People are looking for durable, easy to clean, hygienic, low maintenance. Just wipe it down and go. And that's what definitely a trend in terms of the surfaces that we're looking at, is where people are looking for that sort of durability and cleanliness. So in shifting paradigms, what we just wanted to talk about, and I'm going to pop these all up at the same time. We spoke about fashion, color, and texture. I've just been talking about that now, where the trends are going, the durability, low maintenance, healthy surfaces, local, sustainable, responsible, and affordability. This is what we have to really sort of wrap our heads around, is that all of that is available and at an affordable price locally from South Africans. Everything I showed you in those pictures, that has all been produced using melamine faced boards. Here, for instance, this would normally have been a sprayed product with a veneer and definitely added a lot more to the cost. Now suddenly you can get that same look, that affordability is there because it is all there available in melamine faced products. With the surface technologies that we've invested in. So in terms of textures, in terms of the mats, in terms of the gloss, everything is really available. This is the great thing about this. And we talk about the sort of sustainable and responsible. Again, looking for a local option, there's no reason to have to import anything like that. It's all being manufactured right here in South Africa, and of course at an affordable rate. That's the main thing. We as PG, it's one of the things we're looking at, is we want to be sure that we are actually getting to the right market, that it's not inaccessible for people. Because, as I said, there is a hugely aspirational market looking for design, looking for new stuff, and we should be able to supply it to them. And that really is all I wanted to chat to you about. If you want more in terms of inspiration and what we've been doing and the products that we've actually got available, because I can't punt too much here, this is on behalf of the KSA, but you can definitely get over to PG Bison and have a look at the ranges that we have on offer. And of course, you can get to the KSA website and have a look at all the members galleries. They are there. The registered people who work for the or registered with the KSA are there, and you can have a look at their work. It goes without saying, and I just want to go back to this picture one more time, that with what the KSA is trying to do, and us, sometimes people have a hesitancy, an apprehension to using melamine-faced products and laminate worktops and things like that. But it really does come down to good workmanship and good installations. The products themselves are durable. They will sort of maintain for many years. But as long as they are edged properly, they're installed properly, they are sealed properly, that is the biggest requirement. You have to make sure that whoever you're using to do the job does an excellent job in terms of that fabrication, and that's how you make sure that the product's last. Because from a surface performance point of view, melamines and laminates have been around for years. They're definitely, there have been massive improvements in terms of what we do with the surfaces and how they last. And added to that, you've got, as I said, a range of designs that have come out that are a lot more realistic. This isn't the sort of plastic-looking melamines of the 1980s and a little early 1990s. The textures just helping to create that sense of realism, and again, sort of responsible. We're not cutting down exotic veneers or anything like that. This is all just printed designs that we can then use, mix and match, and play around with color and get fantastic results. So that is my little talk for the moment. I'm going to ask if anybody wants to ask any questions. I'm going to escape out of the presentation so I couldn't see anybody for a bit. Here I am again.
Jason, that was wonderful, very inspiring, and good to know. Thanks for all the tips. We do have some questions.
Super.
Let's just pull them up.
Cool.
Okay, the first one is, what are some of the more timeless kitchen looks?
More timeless, I'd say definitely at the moment, your sort of, how can we, I don't want to say too modern, but your lighter colors, your whites and lighter grays, they're there. The Carazes and the Calapanas, I think they're definitely trending right now. They have a classic look to them, but we'll see. But I think the sort of lighter colors are, and we do see that a lot with the designs, the prints. It tends to be the lighter wood grains that have more longevity. The dark ones come and go in a seasonal pattern.
Absolutely, and white's always a classic and always a safe choice, hey, to go with like a glossy white or a matte white.
It is. But I think that the opportunity lies in that these days, you can do a lot more. You can take the white, but you can quickly change frontals out and change create a new accent point. Incorporate color, but be able to sort of not do the entire thing, but sort of be able to swap those doors out in a little while. Because very often, the carcasses are serviceable and stay in good condition for a long time. But to just give a little bit of a facelift to the kitchen is quite an easy makeover.
Okay, next question is the petrol blue cabinets a fad, or do you think it could be timeless? The blue one.
Look, the color petrol blue. At the moment, it's going to be around for a couple of years for sure. This is not sort of this month and then next month we're out of petrol blue. We have a diverse demographic. A lot of colors work in it's quite interesting. Over the whole country, there are areas that have a preference in one color or another. So we've definitely seen, as I said, this trend towards the blues and the duckshell greens. That's been on sort of on the menu for 2 years now. That move towards those colors, and a lot more of it gaining. I think we as a nation, there is a sort of certain part that requires a demonstration of not opulence, but we certainly we show off a little bit more than Germany, for instance. Germany likes to play everything down a little bit and subdue things. So we tend to like bolder colors. We like bolder wood grains and prints and things like that. So the petrol blue, we've seen a lot of growth in it, and surface textures like the matte have just really taken the popularity of that to another level. Again, because it de-intensifies that, it tones it down. So it's not that in gloss it's bold and punchy and it's beautiful, but that use in the matte now is definitely helping people to use it a lot more sort of widely. So I'd see the color sticking around for a good few years still.
Great. Okay, next question. Who are your top local suppliers?
We're the top local supplier. Can we just get some more clarity on sort of? Yes. Are we talking about who are the KSA's top local suppliers? Because then I'll have to hand that over to Stephanie to handle.
Okay, let's see, Steph. Do you want to answer that one?
Sure. The best way is actually to suggest that you go and visit our website. Obviously, we have members that traverse all different types of kitchens and all different materials, depending on what you're looking for. But if you visit the website, www.ksa.co.za, and you go to the members page, you'll find the listing divided up there in between supplier members and kitchen members. You'll be able to identify who's in your area and who's not. And if you'd like more clarity on who is specializing in a particular area or a particular product, you're welcome to contact any of the KSA offices in any of the regions, and we can help direct you to the correct person.
Stunning. Thanks, Steph. Next question. In your opinion, Jason, what are the best colors and textures for a kitchen?
My opinion, there's they're all my babies because I get to select them. So I think that there are certainly we are seeing right now at the moment. There's Brookhill. It was in a couple of the pictures. It's a more natural looking oak color. It doesn't have too stronger cathedral and grain in it. It's just got a little bit of rustic patterning. There was that little one with the duckshell green cabinet and the wood. Massively popular at the moment. It's really just, we're seeing a lot of Brook Hill everywhere we go. So that sort of natural looking wood grain, I think, is definitely more the where South Africa is. The longer sort of the colors that do tend to stick around, we've got it does tend to be more let's call them oakish looking wood grains. So more of cathedrals, what we as South Africans interpret as being a wood look. That would be it, because you get a whole variety, like the darker wood grains and so, but the more oakish grains and the more rustic stuff is definitely where we've been and have are sort of moving. So that would be the ones that there's colors like Esperanza oak, shale oak, Brook Hill. All of these sort of colors are things that I'd use. The other colors that will stick around for a while, we've got a variety of grays. There's a light gray called Folkestone. There's a medium gray called Dunblane, new to the range but exceptionally popular. There's the darker storm gray, and then there's Kalapana, which is your anthracite carbon looking color, and then of course goes into black. So the grays definitely have been around for years and look like they are going to be around. They are sort of the larger volume of what we do. Of course, white's always popular. It is classic. It'll always stick around. But we've got some earth tones. There's a Congo which works really well in terms of combining it with certain wood grains. So definitely the grays are like a good bet. White's a classic, will always be around. But the oaks and the sort of the more, I don't want to say traditional wood grains, but you're sort of more what we consider as looking wood. They tend to work. But that again, it is, like I said, it's changed a lot. 20 years ago, you put in a sort of a maple looking kitchen and it was good for another 20 years. Whereas we're seeing this trend in designs sort of really pick up speed. So what is popular, it's moving. And of course, we have social media to thank for that. We have the internet to thank for that. In the past, we'd have to go to a fair, see what's new, bring that back home and say, here it is, and launch it and wait 2 or 3 years for it to gain traction. But now Pinterest and Instagram, people are seeing things quite quickly. And so immediately people are saying, hey, I'm looking for a turquoise color. I'm looking for a maroon color. I'm looking for this, because they've been inspired by something they've seen. So we are definitely seeing a lot more of that.
Great. Okay, we've got a few more questions coming in. Your best backsplash for dark matte. What's a good contrast for a backsplash?
I am going to give that over to the kitchen manufacturers to talk about, because we actually, not much of our product gets used as backsplashes, so I'm not going to comment too much on the backsplashes. I don't know if Stephanie wants to talk a little bit, but.
Hi, thanks, Jason. Yeah, if you're looking to combine a splashback with a dark matte cabinetry, a lot of people are looking at contrast there. So you're finding splashbacks going into your surfacing material. So if you've used a sintered surfacing in particular at the moment, which comes in a lot of different patterns, that combines quite nicely. It gives you a nice thin, sleek line. Obviously, stone is still popular, your quartz surfacing. But if you're wanting to try and echo that matte look, you can still stick with an original granite project, and they can actually hone a dark granite to make it a matte finish. And you could do that on your surfacing and up onto a splashback as well. If you're looking to use a laminate product to do the splashback to stay similarly in matte, you have to just be careful about a grease absorption, etc., particularly around a hob. You can still move to your glass products. They can give you a fairly similar color, but glass will always have a sheen to it. So it will be combining a more of a high gloss look with your matte cupboards. Again, the look of bringing in the metallic looks has been very popular overseas, particularly in the UK, where they are bringing in products that have a little bit of a bronze or a copper feel to them, for splashbacks and accents as well. I hope that answers.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, so one more question here. Most durable material for kitchen flooring. Is that one you can answer?
I was going to say, I can answer it, but it's definitely not anything from PG.
PG Bison is mostly the surfaces
Yes.
material. So, Steph, if you want to come back and just comment on the most durable for kitchen flooring.
That is a difficult one because they are all have issues if they're not treated correctly. I think it's important to know that if you're going to use a wood flooring of any kind, that the issues there linked to water must be borne into consideration. With tiles, it's important to remember if you're going to be buying tiles to buy extra. In a kitchen, it's very easy for you to drop a heavy pot and pan. You might have a cracked tile that you need to replace later down the line, and then you can't get stock. There has been a move in some places to bring back the old linoleum flooring that's looking to be something else. It doesn't look like it used to. People have used that because of the durability and the easiness to clean. But I think whichever surface you look towards, it's important to do your research. They all have their vulnerabilities when it comes to application and usage if you abuse them. And a lot of people have also opted for the concrete flooring look where it actually gets the treatment. But that again, if you don't get it done by the right company, we've seen a lot of issues come up with that if it's not done correctly.
Okay, the questions just keep coming. Stefano, if you want to stay on, there's another one here. What is the environmental impact of making your product, the glue, the composition, and the laminate surfaces? I think this is for you, Jason.
It is. Okay, so if you look at our product, let's take melamine-faced board. The way it is, 90% of the board is wood, and that wood is grown locally. It's a pine species or a eucalyptus. And those are all in sort of responsible and sustainably managed plantations, because South Africa doesn't have natural forests that you could go and commercially use. So everything that we do, it is a crop. And often people kind of get a sense they see footage of maybe natural forests being cut down and worry that that's what's happening. In South Africa, it's really well maintained and managed. It falls under the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries, Forestry, Environment. So they sort of license those forests, and that's what we use. We also use windbreak material, so where they've grown gums for on farms and things like that, we do use that timber too. So that's where the timber comes from. That makes up 90% of the board product itself. The resin we use is a urea formaldehyde that is made from it's made in our petritive factory, and that is made to the SABS standard, so that we actually have to make according to the standard there for the emissions. So that's the glue that's used. So in terms of the decorative surface, the melamine from paper, that is a paper that we imported from Europe mostly. And again, reason for us importing that paper is there are no local manufacturers of that grade of paper or printing of that paper. So that's where the product comes from. So in terms of the product, very sustainable, because also the Europeans, in terms of the paper production, are managed quite carefully in terms of FSC and all those sustainable.
Perfect. One more question here. As well as the afterlife, how long does the laminate take to decompose?
Okay, well, the laminate, once it's been made, I couldn't give you an exact on a decomposition, but what we do is, it can be done, is it gets broken up and sort of put out into compost, smashed up into pieces and taken away. I can't tell you exactly how long it's going to decompose, but eventually it'll all break apart.
Okay. And our last question. One last one. Can any of the colors be a matte finish, like the Storm Grey and Petrol Blue, even the Brook Hill Fusion?
Okay, so the way we did this, we launched matte at the beginning of last year as we went into lockdown. And what we've done with that is we've made a very limited range. There are only 11 colors available right now in the matte range, but that is because PG Bison is a manufacturer and we need to rely on stockists to take our product and then supply the market. So we can't overload them with more and more colors because they need to manage their cash flow too. So we have a limited range. There are 8 of those now it's 9 are solid colors. So the Petrol Blue, the Storm Grey, Congo, Dunblane Grey, all of those are available as that. And then there are the 2 stones, Azana and Matte. Azana and Caldera. They're available. we do have a way with customers, but where it's a specific order and we can produce things, but then there is a minimum order requirement, and we actually manage that. But it's a very specific thing that we do for large contracts. But in terms of if somebody's looking for a matte wood grain, I'd say stick around. We are busy preparing for our next launch of products, and that is one of the things that are on our radar in terms of looking at wood grains in matte, because we've seen it in Europe, it's starting to pick up in popularity, and we would like to do that now. But for now, as I said, the range is about 11 colors. You can see them on our website, but definitely the petrol blue and storm gray are available as matte. Those some of the pictures I had there was some storm gray inside of them.
Stunning. That's it for today. Thanks so much, Jason. Thank you, Stephanie, for joining us. We appreciate all the insights and educating us on the materials and finishes, and thanks to the association for coming on today. Our next talk will be at 1 p.m, so we'll see you back then.